Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to #WeAreMovieClub. This is our Saturday Hangout. I am Kamurai, and there we go. And Charlie is not here at the moment. He may or may not be by just a bit. Hopefully sooner than later, because it's much more interesting when I can talk to him about this stuff. As we usually start out, I guess we'll start out with the things we've been watching. I want to talk a little bit about Legend of Korra. I've been trying to watch this currently. I managed to get caught up on the first two seasons, though I discovered something with season 2 that I didn't know that things happened with when you look at like .tvs and whatnot, that not all of them are completely kosher, so my apologies there. But Legend of Korra, the sequel to The Last Airbender, the Avatar series, has been really interesting so far. And we're in season 3 now. This is kind of what I wanted out of the season 1, is some like rogue benders that they got to chase down, some kind of mortal enemy. Because in the first season, like, they face like an anti-bender resistance with a couple blood benders mixed into the mix. So that's the only real fancy thing, because metal bending's pretty common. They've got technology, so there's even humans that can use technology to the equivalent of bending. So there's that. Season 2 is kind of about preventing the end of the world, which is, like, you don't follow anything up after that, which is surprising that they really kept it going, other than the idea that Korra restarted the cycles of the Avatar, because she's not connected to the first cycle anymore. But now in the third book, which is the current season, it's really interesting to see what's going on, because she's starting to learn metal bending. She's the first Avatar to do so. I was really hoping to see her sand bend, but she hasn't done that yet. The big thing in this is major villains that each warranted their own special prisons, which just seems like a ridiculous use of resources. It just seems like you should be killing people off when they're that dangerous. You don't construct actually it was four. It was actually 4 specialized prisons in particular environments with particular architecture and everything. That's silly. And then, like, so you're going through that, and you're like, okay, we've seen people blood bend, which is basically bending torture, because you're bending the water inside of somebody, which doesn't seem like it should be that special to blood bend, really. And right before it happened, I was like, well, you could just bend the air out of somebody, couldn't you? And sure enough, there's a scene where the lead villain airbends the air out of this person, and it's just kind of crazy, because to me it's like we just watched a murder. Even if she lived through it with brain damage, the Earth Queen was killed, and they say it as her reign has come to an end. I think the idea is to let us think that she's dead, and she's not actually, which is just dumb. It's okay to kill people off in a story. You're not ruining it like that most of the time. Oh God, why? But so Legend of Korra's just gotten to interesting points, and I'm really waiting to see where the Red Lotus, which is the group of bad guys, is gonna go, because by now they're by far the most interesting bit. My favorite out of the protagonists is the one with no bending, which to me is a bad sign for a show all about bending. Asumi, I think, is her name. But yeah, she's like a tech wizard. So I think she gets like a electric shock glove as a weapon at some point. So she'll fight right alongside with everybody else, but she can't bend. But yeah, so there's that. I've lost a lot into some series, because I realized that television, eye roll here, has started to cycle back, and new seasons of things are starting up. I think Big Bang finally got cleared to start up its current or upcoming season rather. So it's probably the only one I'm going to stay current with. Maybe Two Broke Girls. I really like some of CBS's shows, and last year I kept it with Two Broke Girls, Meet Your Mother, Big Bang. There's the one with, oh god, the tall guy from Arrested Development. I can't remember his name. I hate that I always forget his name because he's Will Arnett, and then Jamie May's in that too. And then like I want to catch up with Arrow as it comes on. The Flash probably. I want to keep up with these things, but I know that like when this sudden influx of shows comes up, I'm going to be just killing myself to try to manage it all. Once Upon a Time should be fantastic when it comes out because they teased up Elsa coming to town. I think she was in like a urn or something that Rumpelstiltskin had in his castle. Then let's see. But I got back and I Continuum's a show that I always forget exists until like the new season comes out on Netflix. I'm like, oh, I'm watching this. So I watched through that. It's a lot of time travel nonsense, end of the world stuff, and that's gone in a very interesting direction. I think there's another season after season 3, so we'll just have to wait around and see what happens. But I picked up Lost Girl again, which in all the crazy, like, let's do undead stuff, where they're doing zombies, and zombies at this point are kind of on an out cycle. But vampires have also been something. And you know what? People want to blame Twilight, but I think that's a poor assumption. I think vampires got big in novels about 2 years before we start seeing them on screen, which is why Stephanie Meyers got in there, and then she targeted the market that's going to promote the movie for itself, or the series for itself. So Twilight gained popularity, then it became a book or a movie, and then all the people who had actually been talking about doing vampire movies, because these other things were popular in novels, started doing them again. Because we've gone through this before, where like when Blade came out, I think there was a slew of vampire movies. Marvel's dirty little secret of Blade. But in all this, like, Lost Girl was actually one of them because she's a succubus. It really feels like people got into vampires, and then somebody was reading Laurel K. Hamilton's books, the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, because vampires were popular, and they read that, and they're like, oh, this is pretty good. I wonder if there's anything else like this that we could do. And then they read her other series that focuses on Meredith Brooks, who's a fairy princess, a fae, where they're essentially elves, where they're magic and they can do stuff. And then like what we would think of fairies normally are a class of under fae or mini fae or whatever you want to call it. So Lost Girl focuses on a succubus who discovers that she's not actually human. She's a fae, what's called a fae, and then the fae are a race of totally mixed up subspecies that are divided into 2 courts. That sounds familiar. The light and the dark, and then Bo the succubus is famous because she refuses to align. And the last person who did that, which you don't learn until season 4, started a war against her grandfather, which you find out in season 3, I think. So there's all these nice family dynamic things, and then because she's a succubus, she thrives on sex, she feeds on people's chi. I don't know why they changed it to chi, or they do it the way they do it, because it just, the two things don't go together. There's lots of little problems, but the show is overall pretty enjoyable. And they bounce her tits all over the place if you like that. That's not why I watch it. She's pretty, but like typically it's girls she's hooking up with that are more attractive, which is always funny. And then I saw Mary McDonald on that show. She was in Degrassi. I remember watching her when we were Man, that's I'm still kind of blown away by that, but it was really cool to see her show up on there and see what she's up to these days. Um, so like season 3 was all about this human who had wanted revenge, and he was kidnapping Faye and wanting to be a Faye, and it was just a lot of capture games along with the normal dysfunctional family dynamics, the dysfunctional romantic relationships Bo has, plus all the dealings with the unaligned and the two courts. And then at the end of season 3, Bo gets kidnapped by probably one of the coolest things. I wish they'd milked this more. The antagonist is known as the Wanderer. Like, that's what he's known as, and like he's noted for this tarot card that gets left there, the Wanderer. And it's a picture of him looking off a cliff with like a sun behind him. So that card gets put everywhere, and he ends up dealing with certain people to make things happen. But you would think that if he's so powerful, why does he need these other people to make weird things happen, especially when he can turn into black smoke and kidnap people? But but it's just so cool because he's the Fae boogeyman. Literally, he's Slender Man for the Fae, but he's real. And even when he captures Bo, it becomes him and Bo looking off a cliff into the sun, which I thought was a really neat thing to do for that. We get into weird interdimensional stuff, and we get into like a little bit of time travel when they go into Krampus for the Yule, or whatever you want to call it. Hey, it is what it is, what it is. It's a decent show. I know I'm not selling it very well there, but the show is entertaining more than it's technically accurate. So that where they want to get into entertaining, they definitely do it. They definitely deal with the villains and stuff. I just wish they were working with a different character set, because it bothers me every time like they say like they're all one race, and they're really not. There's no way. It doesn't seem like there would be a way for like mer people to mate with sirens, or wolves to mate with a succubus, because it should be like all different anatomies and everything. But I'm one of those technical people. But it reminds me a lot of Grimm, which I don't say with like a lot, because I like Grimm, but I feel like I shouldn't like Grimm, because I'm like, oh, this is such a horrible show. What happens next? So like they're both shows that like fall in that same category. They both deal with a slew of creatures that shouldn't all be crammed together in one city. So if they were traveling, like, I give it a buy, but Grimm's probably more technically accurate than entertaining, and then it deals very little with the romantic entanglement aspects. Those take a back burner, whereas Lost Girl is very much about that, because her main ordeal is that she is supposed to be that she needs to fuck to survive, but that's not always the case. So she's just more of a leech than a succubus most of the time. But so I'm about a season and a half of that, half a season of Continuum this past week, and just trying to make sure I sleep properly. I only watched 2 movies, I think. I don't know. I mean, like Red vs. Blue Season 8, I watched that for next week, because that's what we're watching next week. So I'm super excited about that, because that's where we see mocap come in. I know Charlie's going to finally actually be impressed. I know we both really liked Season 6, and we liked it for the same very specific reasons. But there's no reason for the humor that I still enjoyed mostly through Seasons 1 through 5. Charlie, not so much. For that to go away, but we realized that in Season 7 that we definitely can't hang on to the old ways as much as everyone would like to. So in Season 8, we definitely come around, and you see all that happening, and we'll talk more about that next week. The movie I watched, I mentioned this at some point, I think it was last week, Rooster Teeth. launched a new YouTube channel called The Know. So that's kind of their news and media branch, if you will. Achievement Hunter's kind of their Let's Play branch. It's only a matter of time before that becomes its own channel if it hasn't already. But on The Know, they do video game news mostly, and Meg's kind of ruined that for me, so I haven't been keeping up with news quite as much. But I do like the podcast. I listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast and The Know's Patch, or The Patch on The Know. But they started this new one called Screenplay, which, again, is just a horrible name, because when you look for it, you look for their hashtag, all you get is screenplay nonsense. Like Bernie told him, apparently, because he's mentioned that on the Rooster Teeth podcast. So hopefully they'll fix that, because the internet and is one of those places where you can just kind of do things first, then evaluate it, because you don't really know how it's going to play out. But the first one was Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Didn't really want to do that because Source Code Movie Club did it back in the day, and it's not one I want to revisit. John Dies at the End, however, is the second one, and I did just watch that today, so I need to sit down, write out a review for that, and film that as well, I think. And I think I'm going to start following their movie book club and doing a bit out of that, just because it seems like a thing to do. It seems like it'd be a good way to find suggestions for things I haven't watched or revisit things I have. And that is one that I honestly want to do a review on, but it messed with me the whole time because it was like, I thought I'd seen this movie. I don't recognize any of this because the movie's so bizarre. And I gotta say, if you want a bizarre movie about weird paranormal type stuff, go watch Odd Thomas. Infinitely better. Different delivery, much more serious, but still pretty funny. It's the difference between having a action paranormal movie with some comedy in it versus a comedy paranormal movie with some action in it. So I'd say they're almost two sides of the same coin. But you'll notice they do that a lot with things. You'll see, even if they don't come at the same time, you'll see something that's like, oh, this is like this. So if you like this, you might like this. But what did you like about the first thing? Okay, well, this is almost the opposite in the same direction. It's a three-dimensional thinking when you categorize stuff, because you're like, okay, well, there's this stuff over here and this stuff over here. These are obviously opposites. But when you come over here, you also have this direction and this direction. So, again, you're going to have opposite directions going in the same direction. Not to make you think like physics or anything when you're watching movies, because who wants that, right? Right? Ah. Oh, man. Let's see. Oh, at least that's on. Just want to check. I thought they disabled the question and answer thing. So I don't have a whole lot going on with that. I spent a lot of time, more than I wanted to. I say a lot. It really wasn't that much, but trying to do some audio for a different video that should be up this weekend. I just have to make sure it renders properly. And then I did a little bit of gaming, because I mentioned a game to our friend Sidcam called Little Fireplace Inferno. I was like, you know what, I haven't played that in a while. That game's really fun. I bet I can get through it really quickly. I got through it fairly quickly. I think it was like 2 hours overall play time, or it was under 3 at least. And it's a great game, but I've got to find a way to creatively edit that to make sure that I keep the time down per catalog, because every time you don't have levels per se, you have catalogs, and suffice to say that you have to complete a certain number of combinations per catalog. So that's kind of what I've been doing project-wise. I've got another show idea I kind of want to do, because it involves doing exactly this. I don't have an outlet where I can talk about what games I've been playing, because I don't have a podcast for that. Charlie's time's limited as it is. He's probably not going to make it here today if he's not here by now. So it is what it is. But I'd like something like that, even if it's me turning on Google Hangouts for Gaming Division for 20 minutes or something and just being like, here's what I played, this is that. But what I'd like to do is take my camera to my gaming group and take some footage of board games we've been playing. Because that's something I've been wanting to talk about on camera, and I don't know how to quite put it together yet. And I've been playing around with titles, and I don't like anything I come up with. But I've got to get back to doing board game stuff with that. I want to move that to being a priority. I want to do more how to plays, because that's my big video is how to play Munchkin over at Gaming Division, and I've got a how to play Guillotine queued up, but I just haven't gotten edited, mostly because I stalled, then I took vacation. I'm still not through my travel stuff. I'm finally up to the RTX footage. So I'm really happy about that, but just life and things get in the way. They always get in the way, you know. So that's a little bit what's going on with me this week. I really wish I had more to talk about. Most of what I've experienced this week is podcasts. I will mention this: The Escapist. They recently branched off into doing like 5 podcasts a week. They do one a day with different people. I think one person heads up each podcast, but they have different focuses. And in particular, the one that I kind of was ignoring was the science and tech one, because it's mostly not my bag. But they did one about zombification. Which was really interesting. So, like they talked about it, how it would be applicable in real life, zombies and whatnot. They talked about Pandemic, which became Plague Inc. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, because they were talking about like how it relates to things, like World War Z and the rage virus that's present in 28 Days Later and 28 weeks later. This actually kind of goes on to what Bernie said. He made a big point about it on the RT podcast, that he's kind of over zombies. It's like, if it's a zombie, it's a zombie. I'm tired of all trying to differentiate. Because I'm still of the camp where you do differentiate that you've got walkers, which is like the traditional Night of the Living Dead type of zombie. Resident Evil uses them. Walking Dead uses it, and that's where the term walkers actually comes from. Where they mostly just kind of wander, and then they come across something, they try to bite it, or if something comes near enough with the lurker, they try to get it. But there's that, and then there's not Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, because the more recent version is the one where it's in color and they're in the mall, and those are zombies that actually run. They actually get super strength and endurance and everything when they become a zombie, which to me I hate that it doesn't make any sense. A rage virus thing, even though they're not dead, and I do differentiate that, they're just infected, because that's really the difference between zombies and infected, is if it kills you. But the infected in like 28 Days Later and whatnot, since it doesn't kill them, and they can actually die of starvation, that to me that's not a zombie. It's a uncontrolled maniac, someone who's sick, infected, whatever you want to call it. But I wouldn't say it's a zombie, because zombies have to be dead. And they don't have to be magically risen. They can be medically risen or rejuvenated or whatever you want to call it. But reanimated dead is what constitutes a zombie for me. Now, you do have undead, which would be sentient type zombies. So that's something else too. But to me, it's important to make these distinctions, especially when you live and deal in like video game and gaming worlds. Not that you'd be able to tell on sight what it is, but if like something rolls at you and it's missing most of its stomach, it's probably a zombie. I should probably try to burn that for one reason or another. If it's some guy foaming at the mouth, it's like, oh, it's a dude with rabies. It's just an infected person. But so many places are playing with combinations of things like that, where you have like Left 4 Dead. They call them infected, which would make sense. Other than like you can still unload a clip of Uzi into their chest and they still come at you. So to me that says zombie. Like in Resident Evil, like in the movies, not the games, and maybe the later games actually explore this, but I'm used to, when I say Resident Evil, like the first couple games, where they got famous. That seems to be a whole other problem, and I'm sure that carries over to movies. When something becomes popular, they kind of lose track of what to do with it. Yeah, you know what? That totally matches, because if you look at Spider-Man, the original trilogy, they definitely didn't know what to do with that. They ended up screwing up the third movie beyond belief. And I like the third movie, don't get me wrong, but they misused it, especially Venom. Oh, I'm still mad about that. Sandman was awesome. Having Harry in there was good. I just wish they had made better use of Venom. Seems like such a waste for such a good character. But yeah, just once things become popular, things can get out of control, because it's like, oh, we got the power now. You get that weird shift in your mind, kind of like Microsoft did with the Xbox One. It's like, well, we'll do it, and they'll do it because they don't have another choice, or they'll just get used to it, which is really horrible, because that also lines up with the idea that like you don't know you want a lot of services until you try them out, and in a lot of cases you try them out because you don't have another option. Like nobody wants cable TV. I'm telling you that right now. You don't want it. If you had another option to get the same shows, you'd use that. And they're already using the internet to deliver it to you, which is the thing that baffles me. People don't understand. But if they were to give you your cable box, instead of using a cable box, you just sign into a website, you would use the website. There's no reason not to do it. It's a bullshit fee you pay every month, so that they have the power to restrict things, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's why piracy takes off. It's because people. Hey, buddy, give me just a second to finish up this thought. Piracy exists because people don't allow another proper option. So, in an attempt to gain that option, people go silly routes to get it because they don't have another choice. Because the only option available is a bad option. Sorry about that, Charlie. I just want to finish that thought out. How you doing, buddy?
I'm alright, man. How are you?
Man, a half hour late?
I'm sorry.
I'm just giving you shit.
Work overrun.
Oh, let me take a look at your headset there. Oh no, I wanted it on your head, but it is a lot sleeker looking. It fits with the bar behind your ears?
No, it's one over the top. I can't wear the ones behind my ears because of my glasses. It just doesn't fit.
But you're wearing it like this, right?
No.
Oh, you just got that sweet hair. I couldn't see it.
You just can't see because I have hair.
No, I'm sure it's one of your better features there. It's it just looks really good. It really looks right now to me like you don't have anything keeping this there. So it looks like you're wearing some super cool version that goes behind your head.
Like a American news reporter kind of thing. I've got it strapped to the side of my face.
A little bit. I was supposed to work on an overlay for you, wasn't I?
We've both been busy, let's be fair.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Oh, man. But how you been, buddy? How's your week?
It's been alright. I've been working for most of it, but got a day off tomorrow, so a chance to recuperate a little bit. But no, it's going well. I'm going to use it to try and watch a few films, I think.
A few films? Alright, so based on what you said, have you actually managed to watch anything this past week?
I watched Bug's Life on, I think it was Tuesday, because I had Monday and Tuesday off this week. So I think I watched it then. Apart from that, not really. I mean, I celebrate yesterday when I discovered that Red Dwarf is going to be getting an 11th series. I watched a bit then just to, because I was kind of in the mood then, you know.
I promise I'll get to that eventually. I gotta knock out these other things in my way.
I kind of rewatched a bit of Series 10, so that's been about it. It's been one of those weeks where, you know, it's either been an early start or a late finish, so...
Sorry, I wanted to make a sex life joke there, but I don't know what I'd do with it.
I'm all on my own, so there isn't none.
Oh, so if you want to sleep with Charlie, hit him up on Twitter at @TheCharlieM.
And I'll put you in touch with my girlfriend who will start the fight to the death sequence. Now you want the Psycho theme tune, so.
Okay.
Anyway, how have you been? What have I missed?
It's good. I kind of ran through all my material in a half hour. To be honest with you,
Oh crap.
That's the thing though, buddy. I didn't watch a whole lot of stuff this week. I have been lost in these series. Like I've been watching. I finished up Continuum, and then I watched a season of Lost Girl, and I was like, oh, there's another season I haven't watched. Oh dear, let's watch that. So, and those are both on Netflix, by the way, for people watching.
Right, yeah.
But I've actually been I've been trying to be on an early cycle, so that I get to work around like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So I've been falling asleep during Lost Girl, so I'm ended up rewatching a lot of the things just to make sure where I'm at. So when I'm watching stuff, I don't have. I've been lost to it. Let's say. I think you get my point.
Yeah.
So like, I finally got to watch a couple movies today. Because like I always watch in advance when I can. So I watched Rivers Blue Season 8 today. Which
yeah, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I've just kind of made myself a bit of a list tomorrow, and that's on there.
Yay! But you're familiar with Rooster Teeth, right? The company, not the people. I keep saying that.
Yes. I have a vague knowledge. Yes.
Well, they have also started doing another podcast called Screenplay. Fucking horrible name. It really is. But they have a movie book club that they're trying to get off the ground there. It looks like almost nobody participated in the first one, which is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
That sounds familiar, but why?
Sourceside Nerd Movie Club did it a while back. I don't know if you were around then.
I don't think that's where I heard it from, but no, I've probably just seen it in a shop.
Okay. But that was the first one, and I didn't really feel like going back to that one because it's to me it's kind of one of those one and dones. Yeah. And I had other things I could do, so I didn't feel like jumping in on that. But I started looking up the hashtag, and there was very little activity going on with their hashtag that I could find that was related to them. Because hashtag screenplay pulls up screenplay stuff. But it looks like the community has started to use hashtag RT screenplay, which makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds better.
So if it's the Rooster Teeth screenplay, at least it sounds like it's about a screenplay that Rooster Teeth is doing, but they're involved. Yeah. So I think I'm going to do a review for John Dies at the End.
That sounds like a good idea.
So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to see what's up there. See if there's another source out there, and I don't feel like getting super involved community-wise, but I may just follow the topics. Because there are other movie clubs out there than you and I. Let's be honest.
Rumor has it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about getting involved with people that aren't here already.
So is that all you've touched upon this evening in my absence?
Yeah, I ranted about projects going on because I played Little Fireplace Inferno for a Let's Play. So that's going to show up on Gaming Division eventually.
I've got a couple of ideas in the fire for Gaming Division, but we can talk about that off screen.
Oh man, I'm super excited about it. I'm like, let's end this so we can talk about that. Because the thing
Not
that I
yet.
really want, you know what, and we can talk about this offline too, but I'm going to mention it again on air, is I don't have a outlet for talking about games, so I don't know if I need to find people to do that, because I know your time's limited. It's really hard to coordinate between here and England.
Yeah, we don't do a very good job with that, do we?
Well, it's. I mean, I work a full-time job. You're working a full-time job right now, and it requires flexibility on somebody's end at some point. So if we don't have control over that, then it's harder to coordinate things. But I shouldn't be and I don't want to talk about gaming stuff here because this isn't the spot for it.
No, that's true.
So, if nothing else, I think I'm going to start doing like a video of like what I've been playing throughout the week.
Yeah.
Especially since Sundays now, I have a dedicated gaming group for board games that I meet up with.
You do, yes. I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah. So it's just because you weren't here, I was just talking about like future project stuff. So I still working on travel footage. I got the kink.com stuff done. So the next thing will be RTX. I just have to make sure the other stuff renders properly and then get it uploaded. Well, Charlie, since I got your attention.
Now that I have your attention.
What is your feelings on that? Do you know what it is or anything like that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
On what, sorry?
The kink.com stuff?
No. Although if it's what I think it is, then yeah. No, I don't know what it is, I'll be honest.
Well, it's going to go up on my channel, HTKB. You can see it. Oh, wrong side. Over here somewhere. I'm going to get better at pointing at my symbols and stuff. Yeah, that channel. But after VidCon, I went to Disneyland, and then after Disneyland, I took a road trip from LA to San Francisco. The point of that was to go and do a studio tour of Kink.com's studio. Kink.com is a adult films network.
Carry on. I thought it might be, just based on the name.
But they specialized in BDSM stuff, so like, especially bondage, tying people up, because that's how they got started. So this is more me just trying to get a reaction out of you.
Okay.
But that's your reaction, is like stony-eyed, like fear.
It's more being inquisitive, actually. If I'm honest.
And I mean, I've got the video. I had problems getting like my inappropriate for all ages thing to show up on the audio tour one, so that's where I really want it. So as soon as I can get that fixed, I'll release it out there. But now I don't know what your experience is with adult films, and of course you have a girlfriend, so plead the fifth wherever necessary. But like, what's your thought about going and visiting like something like that in real life?
It's not something I would do personally, but that doesn't mean that no one else can. Each to their own is my theory in life, really.
It's really funny. I actually met a girl from England, and I can't remember what town she said she was from, but I know it was in between London and your town, if I remember right, northwest somewhere.
Right, yeah, the northwest is it's not too far from me, but you know, in comparison to American states and areas, it's nothing. But
well, and this will take us away from the thing, but I got curious and I started mapping out cities that we've talked about in the past between let's see, like you, Jenny, Alan, London, of course, and there are some English YouTubers I recently followed. I met him at VidCon very briefly. 6.5 Smiles. It's Tori and it's hard to remember the gentleman's name because he's never on camera. He does the editing side, and he lets his cute girlfriend do the vlogging part, it seems.
Fair enough. Sure, that works well for them.
It's a good marketing angle, and I didn't real. I felt bad because when like because I saw her and like I waved at her like once, and then because she was playing like ukulele, and then like they actually were sat down in line with a sign out, which I thought was genius. So I was like, hey, I saw you earlier. Hey, what's up? And then her and her boy were sitting there. And I didn't realize that they were both part of the channel.
Mm.
So I was like, what's going on? You're both nice people, but you're both talking to me, and it didn't click at the time because VidCon.
Yeah, because VidCon.
It's its own reason. Can I ask you too? We're totally getting away from what I wanted to make you talk about, but did you watch any of that footage? I don't care if you didn't, but
Which, your VidCon footage?
yeah,
I did. I mean, lots of it, it was.
there's a lot to go through. I don't blame you.
I didn't want to sound offensive by saying that it was quite a bit of it was background, but I kind of when I tend to be doing things, I'll have the screen on. It'll be like full screen and stuff, but
Yeah.
I'll be sort of moving around my room doing things. So
No,
I'm watching it, but
it's totally fine. I do that with normal things. With that footage, it's kind of hard to follow because every 5 to 30 seconds the scene's changing. So next year, I think doing like a series of smaller videos would be a better choice.
Well, the thing is, you didn't know what the situation was going to be when you got there, so at least if you were to go again, you'd know how it rolls a bit.
Yeah, and I think next year what I want to do if I go for the people that I want to meet, I want to get us on camera and do a small bit, even if I do it like 10 seconds and turn it off. Because like in this year, I didn't want that to interfere. I didn't want to like walk up to Christina Horner with a camera and be like, yeah. Because that's what it felt like. That may not have been what I actually did, but I was a fucking mess.
Do it for the Vine.
Oh man, she was so sweet about it though. I think she's over it at this point. Because pretty girl doing YouTube, once you get to a certain level of famous, like you get oversaturated with that nonsense. But I respect her work as much as I respect her. So I mean, it's not just like, oh, you're hot. But no, seriously, she was like my YouTube crush. Like when I went back to college, it was her and DeFranco that got me through sanity-wise.
Fair enough.
Despite things. And then her friend Tara, which I'm just as googly about, was there, and she was the sweetest thing. She was super nice about it, but she is not as well known, so maybe she was just like, oh, I have a fanboy. I don't know. You're in London now, right?
I am in London, yes.
I don't know where it is in correspondence between London and Brighton, but there was the YouTube equivalent, or the English equivalent of VidCon recently. Yeah?
I don't know, actually. I hadn't heard of anything, but that doesn't mean to say that it didn't.
Sun City Festival or something?
Sun City Festival. Let me Google that and see. Do you know the really annoying thing? I think it's next week, or it's certainly while I'm down here, but there's like
It's already happened or it's going on because I've seen footage of it. 6.5 miles, not 6.5 smiles, is where Tori and.
So what's it called? Sorry.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out for you, because the only reason I know about it is because Tori and I'm gonna find his name. I hate that I can't remember his name. Very nice guy. Joe, and it's a super generic name to me. So Tori and Joe, they live in Brighton. It's on their thing. 6.5 miles, but they have video footage of them visiting there, and I want to say that's where Emma Blackery shaved her head. Summer in the City is what it's called. Fuck.
Summer in the City. Oh, that comes up. It's the Alexandra. Oh, it's the Alexandra Palace. Okay. Oh, that's that's North London, yeah. Okay, I've got a rough idea what that is.
So yeah, so you didn't even know that was happening.
No, it's not. That's not too far. It's not that far at all. Yeah, but the really annoying thing is there's a gaming festival going on at the moment. Well, let me check when it is actually. It's called Insomnia 52. It's happening next weekend at a place called the Rico Arena, which is a big 32,000 seater stadium, but it's got a load of like conference things. Massive gaming festival happening 2 miles from where I live.
Oh wow, are you gonna walk over there?
No, I mean where I live back home.
Oh, oh, that sucks, buddy.
And quite a lot of the Yogscast are going to be there, so, I'm pissed.
I know you're a fan of those guys, yeah.
I'm a big fan of them, and that's really annoying that I can't go. But, yeah.
Is Stripping gonna be there?
I don't think Stripping's going to be there. I think he's still over in the States, but a lot of the others are.
Well, that's what I was curious about, because I know Dodger took a leave of absence, and since they're a couple, I figured that maybe Dodge and Stripping were back in England for a minute. Mute Charlie there while he's talking to peeps. But because it's kind of well known in any event that I am a fan of the Co-optional podcast. It's kind of where I took inspiration for this monstrosity. Or at least I tried to make that happen, and it worked however it could. And hey, it is what it is. What it is. But that is a gaming podcast in particular. And typically, Total Biscuit John hosts that one, and he runs a nice tight ship with Jesse Cox and Dodger being the kind of entertainers on the show, and they have a guest. And I could only hope that we ever get to that type of station with it. But I didn't see that the Co-optional podcast had gone up on YouTube, because that's typically where I watch it. I don't watch the live event on Twitch because I can't get Twitch at work, so I can't even listen to it, and it's just an odd time of day for me. But that's what I was wondering, was if Strippin and Dodger had taken a leave of absence to go back to England.
It doesn't look like they have. There's nothing on the page to suggest that they are there, but that doesn't mean to say that they won't be.
Yeah, and I love Chad doing news too. He's always fun, and he's the one that started the ultra. You've watched Polaris like once or twice, right?
Very occasionally, yeah.
Are you familiar with the Daily Bite? Just what it is.
I want to say, yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, so it's Dodger sits there and reads stuff off the prompter. What it is. You take a cute girl that has talent doing that sort of thing, and you put her in front of the thing and let her read the prompter, because she knows how to do it well. And she throws her own spin on things like the joke going around, especially at the beginning, was that it was the Daily Dodger, because she's been the only consistent host on a regular basis, but they started substituting people in to see how the audience would take it, and because Dodger sometimes needs to be other places, so they let Neil come in first, I think, and everyone was very upset that it wasn't the Neely Nibble, the Daily Bite, and he didn't put his own flair. He just came in and did the show. Yeah, sorry.
That would have been clever.
Yeah, so when Chad came in, and maybe it was the other way around, but when Chad came in, he made it the Chad Chomp, to the point where it's like the Daily Bite logo comes up, right, and then like, and then it drops, and in comes the Chad Chomp logo. Where it looks like he just hand drew it.
Probably did.
And he probably did. But he comes in and he's great on camera too, because he knows what he's doing. And then he goes in there, he does his thing, and then at the end of each video, I think it was a joke she just did once for the very first thing, but every time she exits stage left, which is my right, so she does this, the little Kermit the Frog arms.
Yeah.
Bye. And she runs off. For whatever reason, to the point where she actually wanted to go left, but she had to go right, so she went right and then turned around and came back to go left. So now it's a permanent thing, and so when Chad does it, he just falls over and thunks on the ground. Like
That sounds like a fair equivalent, doesn't it?
Like audibly though, because he's a big guy. It's just funny. I like Chad. He's good stuff. Polar seems like a really good network. I think my biggest issue with them is that they're part of Maker, and Maker has had questionable history, and I don't like the general concept anymore. When it was the station, it actually I liked the idea of it, but when it became something else, I wasn't quite as on board.
Fair, yeah. It's always going to be a difficult one, isn't it, to work out whether it's a good thing or not. Because to me, it doesn't sound like a very good idea, but to some, it's
great to have that backing and get help. Because, look, face it, we've got almost nothing audience. Not talking about this cast, just in general. If you go to the next step up, you go to like Weird Girls and stuff. They have they don't have a much better audience, but they have an audience. So if getting help, just having popular people retweet you, having access to music and stuff, equipment, studio space, that would be huge.
Every little helps.
Yeah, it's just the return is better, but it's not proportional. Let's say that. Because I'm not saying like Maker Studios takes 90% of their cut, but I'm saying you go from making, just to use weird round numbers, like $100 a day, let's say, to making $300 a day when you're actually making $1,000 a day, and then the group takes 70% of it. So you're still making more, but you're not making as much as you would in the same situation.
That seems like a lot, though, doesn't it?
Now, I know the proportions are high, but think about what you would have if you didn't have that company backing you.
Well, yeah, that's a fair point, but is it? I suppose that it's got to be whether it's worth the trade-off.
Yeah, but it's a mirroring of television, because if you look at television and movie industry too, how much money there actually is in those industries, like Jim Parsons and Kaylee Kuko and God, I always forget his name.
Johnny Galecki.
There you go. Big Bang. They went from like what, $350,000 to $1 million an episode. Because the money was there, the studio was just keeping it before.
So yes, I hate the world. It's so full of money. Sorry.
No, money problems are a horrible, horrible thing to complain about. But if you actually could see everything going on, if it was really, truly transparent, I think the world would just have a shit fit about it. And I think they would wake up and stop paying all these exorbitant prices for things. Because the price doesn't jack up when minimum wage goes up because it costs that much. It goes up because the executives at the top want to keep their profits up the same or more. Yeah, for anyone watching and don't know, that's how business and the stock market works. It's as long as you're making more than you did before, everything's supposedly good. That's it.
Welcome to the world, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we suck. I don't know. Anything upcoming project-wise for you?
Not really, no. Just kind of carrying on doing what I'm doing, really. Have we mentioned the kind of really big, obvious thing that happened this week?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to think. I think it's Robin Williams dying?
Yeah. It's kind of...
So here's my deal on that.
Go for it.
Peace out, big guy. Thanks for everything. I'm not being insincere when I say that. I really do appreciate him being such a big entertainment part of my life. But all the clickbaiting and just overuse of him dying, taking advantage of it is kind of sickened me at this point.
That is where I had a bit of a rant stored up, and that's kind
By
of
all means,
exactly
sir.
where it goes from. And now I don't know if this is the case in America because your media situation is obviously different to ours, but in sort of British newspaper circles, there are two very different types of newspaper. There's the good ones and there's the shit ones.
Tabloids.
Yeah. So obviously the news goes out. It came out very late at night here. I woke up to the news. I think it was declared like just before midnight actually. So of course during the day people were reacting to it. And for those that don't know, Samaritans is a group that helps people through whatever problems they've got. It's like it's a very good public service and it's free. But they sent a message round to the newspapers saying, look, this is a big thing that's happened with a very well-known person. This may be well, not a trigger, but this may affect a lot of people. So please, on your articles and your news, just try and tone it down and try not to be too explicit and try and sort of not risk anything. Basically, just report it, play it safe. So when I get up the next day and see it across, so the newspapers immediately had been, oh my God, he's died. This is a tragedy. He was a legend. Oh my God, this kind of thing. The next day, two newspapers, his final hours revealed he was facing bankruptcy. He had X, Y, and Z problems, and it's just completely plastered everywhere. And it was just like, let the man have some peace. And
Dignity is more of it, I think.
Yeah, and it was obviously clearly done to gain attention to certain papers or to gain like coverage, and I just felt horrible. I was so angry that this was happening, and it was just, I mean, the worst thing about it was I wasn't even surprised.
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
There are some newspapers over here you kind of sadly expect that from. But
now,
it was
is it
just
true
so
though?
unnecessary.
Now, there's the same. You're upset just like I am about the clickbaiting because that's what tabloids do.
Yeah.
Now, are the other newspapers reporting the same thing, just in a better way?
Well, they're reporting that it was a suicide. Obviously, they're reporting that he was facing money issues, which again are documented. The depression he had is documented, so that was being reported. It came out, I think, was it yesterday or the day before, that he now had early onset Parkinson's as well. So like what I would call the professional ones, like BBC for example, they reported this and basically said these are the facts, this is what we know. But other newspapers sort of made a massive song and dance about it that was clearly, well, I wouldn't say scaremongering, but yeah, it's just like clickbait. It's like the newspaper equivalent of clickbaiting.
Yeah, it's just such a good term. I found myself using it for other things than just clicking on links.
Yeah, and it's just, it's almost inhumane in just how some people can try and profit off somebody's passing like that, and I just hated it.
Yeah, I like Robin Williams. I liked Robin Williams enough as an actor that I am kind of disgusted by it. I could totally feel. I had her name just a minute ago. His daughter, her daughter's getting a lot of the brunt of this.
Yeah, she's come off Twitter, hasn't she?
She quit social media or something at some point.
Yeah.
She'll probably be back, but she's the one that's got to deal with all this, and people are just being fucking weird about it with her. Because she probably inherited those debts, which is why I think it's selfish in that case to commit suicide. Because he passed all his problems on instead of dealing with them.
Well, yeah, and this is where there has been, a lot of talk this week about, the need for more discussion about depression and, well, I don't like the term mental illness anyway, because it just sort of makes it sound like a problem that it might not necessarily be, but, there's been more of a debate about, trying to raise awareness and stuff, and I think I'm very neutral on the matter because there's no way that you can sort of put every person in the same boat on it. So to have an opinion on it is a bit generalistic in my view. But
Yeah. Now, and I'm not there. I don't know him personally. The most personal fact about Robin Williams I know is that he did drugs at some point in his life. Funny people are not happy people typically, and that he was known at least at one point for having the largest collection of Warhammer 40K orcs.
oh, nice.
Yeah, he had a nice big wog going, and supposedly like him and Billy Crystal would play Warhammer, and he would like actually do voices for all the fucking miniatures. Billy Crystal plays Eldar apparently, but space elves. Regardless, but no, it's I have a weird place with suicide because like I've been in places a couple different times in my life where I'm like I don't want to deal with it anymore. I've been there, but I've come around and I have very little sympathy for it now, and I kind of don't like the idea of where I was before because it was more, I think, just a lack of feeling of a lack of agency. But I don't want to just bash on him. But it's done with. We can't undo it. Let's move forward. Those who respect him, and not capitalize on a horrible situation, which, in my opinion, is no longer his horrible situation. It's his daughter's. That's who I'm feeling bad for at this point. So
it's a sad situation. It's a sad situation. Sorry.
You should sing more often.
But
yeah.
It's a shame that I could see a lot of Robin Williams films being on TV in the very near future, but for that I'm not going to complain about. I've seen pitifully few.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. Like Jeremy Johnson in Aladdin review in honor, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, whatever. There's another thing in the mix, but like I would never. Oh, this guy died. Let's do a movie review for him. Because to me, it's too soon. It's taking advantage of the situation. It's not honoring him if you benefit from it.
Well, yeah.
That's my opinion. Like if I were in the middle of picking movies instead of doing Red versus Blue, I would say, hey, in honors of Robin Williams, let's do this, but not right now.
There's nothing to stop us going back to it.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like you don't have to wait for people to die either to honor them or appreciate them.
That's true.
That's the thing. That's what I don't get like about birthdays and holidays. It's like people make this big deal about Christmas and birthdays, and like, well, what about the day before that? Did you appreciate them then?
Well, yeah.
Why not just give person why not give a person a gift if you want to give them a gift? Never stops me.
Yeah, that's true.
Though, in honesty, in that statement too, like when I give you and people games, it's partly so that we can play together. So there is an underlining of selfishness there. So, at least I recognize it. Yeah, that's a heavy topic to end on. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
I'm not sure.
There's nothing happy in movies anymore. I will say, you know what? I'll follow it up with two things, and then maybe we can get out of this. I don't know how you're feeling.
Yeah, go on then.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, I have a question about that too. I forgot. What is it called in England?
What? Sorry.
What is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles called in England?
Same thing.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I was told that in Europe it's called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
I've not heard it called that, but that doesn't mean that it isn't.
Okay.
No, I think it is. I mean, I will Google it.
I was gonna say, in the versions that show up in England, are they allowed to show nunchucks?
I think so. I don't know
I
why they
forgot all
wouldn't be.
about this until like I was going to say my other thing. Because I was listening to I think it was a escapist podcast. They were talking about it. They don't like Europe doesn't like the idea of showing weapons that you can make with household items.
I didn't know
uh,
that.
like you could snap a broomstick. Okay, well, hell, you could. If you're too dumb to figure this out, then hell, you could snap a broomstick in half, shave off the ends, drill a hole, and make nunchucks.
Hmm.
Um, it's that simple. It doesn't mean there'd be very good nunchucks, but and I know nunchucks aren't allowed there, just like like katana swords aren't, correct?
Hmm. Yeah. Oh,
Unless Alan mentioned this once upon a time. If you forged it there, then you are allowed to have it in country, but I don't think you can ship it out, and I don't think you can ship any in.
Hmm. That sounds about right.
I don't know. I don't live there. Um, but it's so interesting noticing those differences in culture. What I was gonna say though, while you're looking that up, I guess, is like Bob Chipman. I mentioned him from time to time. Movie Bob on The Escapist did a big. I think it was a big picture. No, it was a Escape to the Movies review on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he basically raked it over the coals. But he said everything I was afraid of the movie being. Even after his Leave Michael Bay Alone thing on The Big Picture, it seems like Michael Bay, the concept that Michael Bay invokes in his movies is the problem here.
I'll
And
give you that.
I have to agree. Without actually having seen the movie, I can't wait for this iteration to die so it can be reborn again in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
It's bad, and all his points make sense. Because his overlying thing was that it wasn't turtles; it was just giant animal movie.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think I put a quote in the show last week about that, but yeah.
Could have been Street Sharks. That probably would have been the worst one.
That would have been well.
Street Sharks. So there's that, because that was supposed to be like the big comic book movie of the summer. Even to overshadow Guardians of the Galaxy, which I don't think it did. I could be wrong. And it still made a shit ton of money. Because unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is focused at kids, and kids go, "Mom, I want to see this," so the whole family goes out and sees it. Whereas Guardian of the Galaxy, it's a bunch of people almost nobody's heard about, unless you're a super comic nerd. So a lot of people going to that are going to be teens and up. Not necessarily dragging a whole family to it. Did you manage to see Guardians finally?
No, you only asked me yesterday.
Did I? I'm sorry. I really can't remember sometimes because a lot goes through my brain.
Tell you the truth. Until about 2 hours ago, I didn't even know what day of the week it was.
I forgot. I didn't know it was Friday until like halfway through the morning. I think I was on my way to work. I'm like, I've got a long sleeve on. What day is it? Oh, it's Friday. Okay. It's ridiculous. But I've not managed to see it either. But it comes down to more of a scheduling issue, and I don't know. I'm torn. I kind of want to cheat and go see it tomorrow night, but not having someone to go see it with demotivates me. And like the ideal time would go see it would be Saturday during the day, and I just need to make sure I get up at a decent time and go do it. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to manage to get myself to do it between now and when it comes out on DVD.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like going to the cinema on my own. I mean, I don't really want to.
Yeah, it's not a fun experience, especially when you pay probably £15 there, right? These days.
You could.
I'm sorry.
Once you've got everything else.
I apologize. Probably £8 for the ticket is what I meant because I was trying to translate and I did it wrong.
Yeah, it'd be about £8.
Yeah, because here it's like $10-12 for a ticket. Last I went. And I don't have my movie theater anymore because when I used to go to the movies, I'd go to a place called Movie Studio and Grill where you can actually like have dinner while you eat the movie or watch the movie.
Have dinner while you eat the movie.
Eat dinner while you watch the movie. Yeah.
Watch dinner while you eat the movie.
Guardians, nom. So, so I missed that, and we don't have anything like that here, I don't think. So I don't know. I don't feel like I get my money's worth. Movie regardless. I hate that I can hear myself in my headphones. I don't come in as an echo, do I?
No, it's fine for me.
Just making sure. Yeah, just making sure, like, hour or so into the thing that I'm not echoing.
Nah, you're all right.
All right. I don't really have anything past that. I mean, unless you want to talk about porn.
I don't think we should.
Aw, Charlie, you never want to talk about porn.
Moving on.
You want to do your sign off, or you got another topic you want to talk about?
For the very brief few moments I've been here, I've been Charlie. Thank you for watching. Let me see if I can point in the right direction this time. You can find me there, Snowdog140 on YouTube, or up here at the Charlie M on Twitter. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I've got. Goodbye, everybody.
All right, thank you for watching our crazy little thing. If you've made it this far, no, this one. I'm Kamurai. You can find me on these channels. We, of course, are WeAreMovieClub. You can find us up here on the Twitters at WeAreMovieClub or at Kamurai25 if you just want to yell at me and tell me how badly I suck. Go for it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Occasionally it's cathartic, or so I've been told. We Are Movie Club. Thanks for watching.
Bye.